How are you guys doing? We want to apologize first of all for the late start, which I'm kind of the reason. I was running a little late. I had a prior engagement before I got here, but I'm here now, right? So let's get started. So first of all, welcome to World Philosophy Day, and we're partnering with UWI and UNESCO. And we have a very important theme today, which is transhumanism in the Caribbean and the potentials and possibilities. So, quick introduction to who I am, by the way. I am a graduate student here at the University of the West Indies, of course, from the best faculty, Humanities and Education. I'm a philosophy major as well, undergrad and postgrad. So I'm happy to be here, and I cannot believe I was not the most outgoing student, but to be here and to represent my faculty means so much to me. So yeah, we're gonna start the event. First up, we're gonna have Dr. Vivette Milson-White, who is going to chat with us real quick, and she's the head of the department. Also, she was a lecturer of mine.
Thank you. Okay, Chair Ms. Joshana Anderson, officers of the university who would be watching this streaming, the Honorable Mrs. Marigold Harding, CDJP, Paula Cavero, Dr. Maria Smith, Dr. Doreen Brady West, our guest performer, Diraja, our panelists, coordinator of the philosophy section, Dr. Rotimi Omashulu, other colleagues from the philosophy section, and the wider Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy, and the UWI. Students, all participants, I welcome all of you to this, the 2023 UWI UNESCO World Philosophy Day event. My department is honored to be continuing in our partnership with the Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO to recognize the value of philosophy in helping us to engage in critical reflection on issues with national, regional, and global impact. This year, as we focus on the theme, transhumanism in the Caribbean, potentials and possibilities, we are considering how technology can improve our lives through expanding our mental abilities and our language producing capacities in fast and fascinating ways. Simultaneously, we are compelled to consider the potential negative implications of such developments in our world and in our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, technology is an integral part of our existence, and transhumanism prompts us to explore how technology can be harnessed to enhance the overall human experience. However, as we explore the potentials, it becomes crucial to approach them with ethical mindfulness. The landscape of transhumanism is not devoid of challenges. Some questions cannot escape us. How can we ensure the technological advancement, especially those that expand human cognitive and biological abilities, benefit everyone in society, regardless of socioeconomic background? How do we establish safeguards against abuse of technological advancements? These kinds of questions call for responsible use of technology for harmonious integration of all citizens in each society. Of course, our panelists will be stimulating reflection and engaging us in addressing similar questions as we examine and re-examine our core philosophies in the face of the potentials and possibilities that transhumanism presents in and for the Caribbean. So, welcome again, everyone in this room and online. May this UNESCO World Philosophy Day inspire us to continue to consider issues of relevance to and for the betterment of Jamaica, the Caribbean, and our world. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you for that, Dr. Milson White. All right, so next up, we're gonna have a recording greeting from Professor Marvin Reed.
Here, Joshua Anderson, Dean, the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Professor Sylvia Kornberg, Dr. Vivek Milson White, Head Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy, the Honorable Mrs. Margot Harden, Paulo Cavero, Program Specialist for Social and Human Sciences, UNESCO Office for the Caribbean, Dr. Maria Smith, Program Manager, Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO, Dr. Doreen Brady West, Chair, National Bioethics Committee of Jamaica, and other distinguished guests, good morning. First, let me apologize on behalf of our principal, PBC Williams, who unfortunately could not join you today in person to bring you greetings, and on behalf of myself, who in turn, due to scheduling conflicts, am unable to join you on this very important occasion on your program's calendar. Notwithstanding, I am grateful to your department for facilitating my participation by way of this virtual medium. Before I get into the substantive message of my greeting, I would like to share a personal anecdote. Although a medic, my son, who is a UWI alumnus, initially harbored thoughts of following in my footsteps and pursuing a career in medicine. However, whether it was serendipity, divine intervention, or if you subscribe to the metaphysical view of Star Trek fandom, that the force is with you, he did not. He actually did not one, but 4 philosophy undergraduate courses. I can personally attest to the impact of these courses had on his worldview, the noted improvement in critical thinking skills, and the expressive ability, both oral and written, that emerged from him studying philosophy. I dare say that although he did not major in philosophy, the foundation that this area of study provided probably superseded what I was able to do as a parent and provided him with transferable skill that is allowing him to flourish in his current environment. And within that context, I would personally like to congratulate and laud my colleagues for the great work that they're doing in shaping the minds of the current generation. The UNESCO World Philosophy Day, I'm informed, is an annual event organized by the philosophy section within the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. The stated goals of this event is to raise awareness among both Jamaicans and the broader Caribbean communities regarding the significance of philosophy as an academic field in contributing to peace at the local, regional, and global levels. Indeed, a casual survey of national and international landscape, where violence and conflicts are rife, is impatient on the achievement of these goals. This year's event is focused on transhumanism in the Caribbean, potentials and possibilities. Transhumanism is an area of thought that posits that human beings should be permitted to use technology to modify and enhance human cognition and bodily function, expanding abilities and capabilities and capacities beyond current biological constraints. Certainly, many of us are aware of the debate that surrounds generative artificial intelligence and its impact that is projected to have on the social and cultural fabric of society. To be fair, I'm less concerned about the predictions of doom and gloom as I am optimistic that the human race, as it has always done through history, is resilient and will be able to rebound from this stress. I'm therefore happy that the department has chosen this topic for focus this year, as the interface between technology and humanity, whether the good, the bad, and the ugly domains, are necessary areas for the university to facilitate, interrogate, lead, and thus contribute to the resilience of society. In closing, I would like to, on behalf of the university administration, congratulate the department again in fostering academic dialogue, engagement, and excellence by staging this activity and wishing them a successful meeting.
So as you can see, he's from the Faculty of Medicine, and philosophy can still be applied there. So that just goes to show the importance of philosophy in society and how it helps to bring up the core of other faculties within the University of the West Indies. So now we're going to move on to remarks from Dr. Rotimi Omasulu. Sorry. He's actually the section coordinator for philosophy.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much, Ms. Adasin. My name is Omoshulu. Omoshulu, that is, children are the foundation of any society. So we are here to celebrate philosophy because philosophy is the light, is the roof, and the root of every civilization. The value of philosophy cannot be quantified. So our coming together this morning is to actually celebrate the instrumental and the intrinsic values of philosophy. So if we acquaint ourselves properly with philosophy, we now begin to ask the original question, not about what philosophy can do for us, but about what can we do with philosophy. If you are asking about what philosophy can do for you, then if you are a student of philosophy, your focus will be after graduation. What will I get? Will I be able to get a job? But if you ask the right question, what you can do with philosophy, you will discover that your level of critical reasoning will distinguish you among your peers. And that is how philosophy can influence you, and you, on your own, you will also influence your society. So the theme of today, transhumanism in Caribbean, potentials and possibilities. I wouldn't look at it from the ethical or epistemological dimensions. I want to look at it from the metaphysical angle. What exactly, or how best can we situate transhumanism within philosophy? Any concept that ends with ism, ISM, is already a theory. And any theory is metaphysical. So if you look at process philosophy, in other words, you can say metaphysical process is about the dynamicity of reality. Philosophy helps you to understand your nature better. And if you are talking about reality, is reality static or dynamic? So process philosophy would make you to understand reality from the dynamic angle. So as a human person, are we limited or we are full of possibilities? I, as a person, I know that I'm not a finished product. I'm not who I am, but I'm who I'm not, because I'm always evolving. And that is humans for us. So we are not limited in the way we think we are. And transhumanism is another way to understand the human nature. So I know that we have able panelists because we carefully chose them. And whatever I've said about transhumanism is just a tip of the iceberg. They have the wherewithal to illuminate our understanding on the topic of today. So I'm going to enjoy the discussion, and I'm equally urging you to join me to enjoy this discussion together. So I welcome you to this program once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Omoshulu. I got it right? Okay, great. Alrighty, so now we're gonna move on next to Paula Cavero, and we're gonna have a discussion from Dr. Maria Smith following that. So both persons will be discussing under this heading for the declaration of the day.
Good morning. I see you skipped my other last name. Good morning, everyone. All protocols observed. It is my pleasure to be here at the University of the West Indies, a leading institution in the Caribbean, to celebrate World Philosophy Day. Each year, on the third Thursday of November, UNESCO highlights the significant value of philosophy for the development of human thought across the globe. This year, we are gathered to explore a topic that lies in the intersection of innovation and ethics: the use of technology to enhance human, biological, and cognitive abilities in the Caribbean. UNESCO takes a humanistic approach to ensure that technology will be designed to serve people in accordance with internationally agreed human rights frameworks. We actively engage in discussions on the ethical implications of scientific and technological advancements, including those related to transhumanism, engaging in debates and projects that explore ethical implications of technologies to ensure it aligns with fundamental principles of human dignity and inclusivity. UNESCO participates in global conversations on emerging technologies so that ethical considerations are at the front line of these debates. To ensure the best possible use of new technologies, they need to be regulated to safeguard human dignity, promote peace, and well-being of humanity. One such example is the recently adopted recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence that was adopted unanimously by member states in November 2021 and acts as a guiding compass to make the most of technologies while ensuring ethical considerations and human rights are respected. And actually, in keeping up with this work, at the current general conference that is taking place right now in Paris, there's also initiated debate on the possibility of producing a normative instrument to maintain control over neurotechnology and ensure its ethical use. The Caribbean region is rich in cultural diversity and historical significance and presents a unique context for this exploration. Technological advancements have the power not only to address long-standing challenges, but also to empower individuals. The use of technology can enhance a future that respects individual rights and upholds shared values. However, let us collectively contemplate certain implications. How do we ensure that the benefits of transhumanism reach all corners of Caribbean society, leaving no one behind? Can we ensure a peaceful integration of technology and humanity? With such power comes responsibility, and UNESCO urges to navigate this path ethically. UNESCO recognizes the role that philosophy plays in shaping societies, promoting tolerance, and building bridges between diverse communities. UNESCO's Director General, Ms. Audrey Azoulay, reaffirms the cruciality and importance of this discipline that makes it possible to continue a debate that is open to all forms of knowledge, and in particular to the contribution of human and social sciences to efforts to grasp the world in all of its complexity and to translate the thinking into action, a debate that is above all open to one and all. I would like to congratulate the Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO and thank them for inviting us to be part of this event, and of course the Philosophy Department and the University of the West Indies for organizing this event, which contributes to a global exercise of engaging in reasoned debate and informed thinking on one of the major challenges of our time. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Smith, yes.
Yes. Good morning. I guess I will go back to the protocol here. Honorable Marigold Harding, Dr. Milson White, Professor Marvin Reed, Dr. Amasulu, and I have to make reference to Ms. Connell over there, because we have been talking for weeks on this event, and I'm happy that it has happened in spite of the rain. And to all our officials here, Dr. West, and our former NBC member over there, so many people have also worked with UNESCO, and we have our team here, Ms. Hopkinson and so on. We at the National Commission for UNESCO join with our partners in promoting critical and independent thinking as a means of securing human welfare. Through philosophy, individuals, and by extension society, ratifies and support the values, norms, and belief systems that defines them. Philosophy is culture. Culture is philosophy. As an agency of the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport, JNC-UNESCO has a special interest in today's activities. As we engage in the discussions on this year's theme regarding the challenges and opportunities of our time, we will no doubt become more aware of our reality. JNC-UNESCO will continue to encourage dialogue for a better understanding of the challenges, possibilities faced by all branches, sciences, education, journalism, and all the other disciplines. We look forward to the arguments put forward by the panel, as well as the comments from the audience on today's topic. On behalf of JNC-UNESCO, our Caribbean office, we declare the 2003 World Philosophy Day.
Thank you so much for that. At this time, we're going to have Professor Sylvia Coenberg. She's the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education.
Good morning, all, and my apologies for my belated arrival. It is a pleasure to be here as Dean of Faculty of Humanities and Education, Dr. Milson White, Head of Department, and I'm going to refer to my program here, Dr. Maria Smith, UNESCO Office Representative. This is Marigold Harding, such a pleasure to see you here, and I believe Dr. Doreen Brady West, yes. And of course our colleagues from the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy, students, Mrs. Irina Bruce. It is important that we do not leave the discussions about artificial intelligence to the engineers and the computer scientists. We are now at an inflection point in human existence where we are looking at the real possibility that artificial intelligence is going to get out of hand. We're already seeing some of that happening. Of course, it's artificial intelligence that drives a lot of what is going on in social media, for instance. People think that think of algorithms, they don't really relate that to AI, but algorithms are a form of AI. And we've already seen the deleterious effects of what these algorithms do in modern life. So we have to be prepared. And as philosophers, this is the room that has the ethicists that have to drive the conversation about how we need to contain AI, how we need to make sure that AI is used for the benefit of humankind. I noticed the title, Transhumanism in the Caribbean, Potentials and Possibilities, and I would like to add to that, and challenges. Transhumanism, of course, is the belief that we can somehow enhance our existence, our lives as humans by technological means. That is a great prospect. And yes, we do see the benefits of technological advancement and the advancement of artificial intelligence. But let us keep the challenges and the potential for misuse, for abuse in mind as well. So this is, as I said, this is the room. These are the people who have to drive that conversation. We have to show that UWI is at the forefront of these kinds of discussions. I'm really glad that we are partnering here with the National Bioethics Committee, because that is, I think, a conversation that has to, involve partnerships with public and private sector organizations. And it is once again my pleasure to welcome you all to the Faculty of Humanities and Education and to the new age of discussions about transhumanism.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that, Professor Coenberg. So at this time, we're actually going to have Dr. Doreen Brady-West to speak to us about a philosophical reflection.
Good morning. Just want to recognize Professor Coenberg, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Dr. Vivette Wilson-White, the head of the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy, Dr. Omoshulu. Thank you. Thank you for correcting that for the previous speaker, because I would have called you something else myself. And thank you very much. Other distinguished colleagues and visitors, faculty members, Honorable Marigold Harding, it's a delight to see you. And thank you for the sterling contribution you have made to Jamaica. Thank you very much. The National Bioethics Committee of Jamaica is once again very pleased to be a participant in the annual observation of World Philosophy Day, and in particular notes the theme for this year's observance, Transhumanism in the Caribbean, Potentials and Possibilities. I view transhumanism as a worldview. There are many ways you can view it. I view it as a worldview that promotes the evolution of the human race beyond its current physical and mental limitations, in particular by means of technology. So by that I mean that technology, in my mind, is a driver of the transhumanist project. Now the themes, the vocabulary, the mores of transhumanism are already frame science fiction, horror movies, video games, performing arts, and literature. It's with us. And ours is an age that is characterized not merely by expanding technology, but also, and rightly so, by growing debates about the ethical applications of these technologies. The drive for human enhancement by the incorporation of technology may be viewed, and is viewed by some, as man taking his future into his own hands. That's great. However, whether that viewpoint should be wholly positive, that should not be immune from critical interrogation. For instance, when we look at what man has done with his past, should we be entirely optimistic about the outcome of man's grasp of his future? Have the destructive events of our history been merely or solely the result of a lack of intelligence or inadequate technology? Or will improved technology, expanding intelligence, primarily or mainly or partly, provide more efficient and varied methodologies for producing global catastrophes? Those are questions that have to be asked. And so I would say that a healthy dose of cautious skepticism is not entirely unfounded when one considers this matter. In fact, the well-known Israeli author Yuval Noah Harari has been quoted as saying, "We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls, but hackable animals. Once you hack something, you can usually engineer it." It would be interesting to find out what proportion of the Caribbean populace would prefer to be seen as hackable animals than mysterious souls. Now, thanks to the emergence and the expansion of nanotechnology, cognitive sciences, biotechnology, genomics, telecom, the human being is now a design project. And that has implications for human beings. I myself, as an oncologist, I imagine that if the transhumanism gets where it wants to be, I will be redundant because people will not have cancers anymore. And that would be a good thing. So with the transhumanism looking at the human being as a design project, will the outcome be to our net benefit? Some would say a hearty yes. Is the transhumanist project a manifestation of hubris and a modern Tower of Babel? There are others who would say yes to that. And I'm sure the majority falls somewhere between those two extremes. In his other book, in his more recent book, Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow, which the title of which is revelatory, Homo Deus, Harari opines that death is a technological problem that we can and should solve. He also predicts that in the 21st century, humans are likely to make a serious bid for immortality. This underscores the point. I'm sure Mr. Harari is not the only person that holds this view. And this underscores the point that the quest for transcendence is at the heart of the transhumanist project. Now, some thinkers posit that whereas a horizontal kind of transcendence, i.e. human enhancement to limit or escape our biological limitations, well, that is okay, they think that a vertical version or vertical form of transcendence could, in the final analysis, make humanity as we know it obsolete. So the issue of what will happen to human identity then is a valid question, as is the question of what will become of human rights. And I believe previous speakers have spoken about this. Let us recall that the recent Hollywood actors' strike was not merely a demand for higher pay, but also a cry against the potential unauthorized use of their likenesses via artificial intelligence. Another valid question, of course, is whether access to these technological enhancements will be equitable. I believe Dr. Vivette Wilson-White referred to this as well. Will it be equitable? Well, you may well ask, as citizens of lesser developed countries, has access to anything so far been equitable as far as we are concerned? And will technological enhancements change this formula which has been in existence for so long in terms of equity? Finally, even a cursory examination of the world's major faiths will reveal that the longings that lie at the heart of transhumanism are familiar longings. So our situation is new, but not because men yearn for indefinite lifespans, perfect health, total knowledge, but because the development and expansion of technologies to which I alluded earlier may now mean, and some hope it now means, that the gap between the desire and its fulfillment is gradually disappearing and will disappear. That is what is new. So the topic of World Philosophy Day this year is of importance. It's quite relevant, and not only to science and computers, computer and science and so on, but very much so to all the other disciplines. Philosophy is the first one I would mention, of course. Ethicists, to the ethicists, to the anthropologists, and to the theologians, based on what I just said. So the driver of transhumanism and the transhumanist project is technology. The target to be overcome is human finitude, really. And the goal, many would say, is transcendence. It is my hope that the region, and starting with our regional institution of higher learning, will critically engage with the worldview of transhumanism by asking the appropriate questions and by learning the lessons of history that can be applied, can be used to apply wisdom to our future plans and projects. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and well done to the Department of Philosophy for launching World Philosophy Day this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. At this time, we're going to have Dr. Janice Smith, who is going to present the 2024 launch of the Oswald G. Harding Essay Competition, which is a new initiative, by the way. So she's going to speak to us about this.
Good morning, everyone. So I asked permission from the MC to accept the protocols as they have been read. All right. So before I do the actual launch, I just want to say a little bit about Professor Harding. Right. So Oswald G. Harding, OJ, CD, QC, PhD, is known as a former senator/parliamentarian, former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, attorney at law, collector of art, and retired professor in philosophy. He has specialized research in advanced social and political philosophy and advanced metaphysics at the University of the West Indies, and also lectured in these areas. During his postgraduate studies in philosophy, Professor Emeritus Harding's research interest delved into the subject matter of consciousness and furnished him with his published work, Near-Death Experience, a Holographic Explanation. This was published in 2005. One of the things that is very befitting about this is that the research that Professor Harding was doing was looking at, two-dimensional reality. And now we're here talking about transhumanism, which is taking us into another form of reality. So it is very befitting. He has also published Grandson of Essie, the Oswald Harding story in 2019. In 2018, Professor Emeritus Oswald Harding received the prestigious Musgrave Award from the Institute of Jamaica, the oldest award of its kind in the Western Hemisphere, for his notable contribution to the field of art. The Oswald G. Harding Essay Competition is the first of its kind and is one of the ways the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy recognizes the contributions which have helped to foster the development of growth of philosophy at the University of the West Indies. In so doing, this section has organized the essay competition as a way of unlocking the minds of young Jamaicans, motivating them to think philosophically about global issues and the pertinence of current developments in technology by way of artificial intelligence and the implications they may have on Caribbean political, social, ethical, and personal life. The essay competition will be an annual event and will be aimed at garnering contributions from young Jamaicans on topical issues in philosophy which are relevant to their lived experience as Caribbean people. This engagement will give students an opportunity to learn about the relevance of philosophy to the development and functioning of a good society and be introduced to lifelong lessons which are a part of the culture of the discipline. It is in this breath that I officially launch our Oswald G. Harding Essay Competition. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Smith. At this time, we're going to have the Honorable Margot Harding, which is the wife of Professor Harding, and she's going to give remarks on the essay competition that Dr. Janice just spoke about.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols already having been observed, but I'm going to ask your indulgence if I recognize the presence of Professor Sylvia Cohenberg, whom I could refer to as my friend and a former colleague, sitting on the board of the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts, and Dr. Maria Smith, another friend and colleague. We currently sit on the board of the Institute of Jamaica. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in my 54 years of marriage to my husband, I have never spoken before him or after him, but with him. And on this occasion, he has asked me to say on his behalf, thank you very much for recognizing him on this day of the International Day of Philosophy, and to say that he's very pleased, very happy to the launch of the Oswald Harding Essay Competition 2024, which will be an annual essay competition. Regrettably, he is not able to be with us in person, but he's with us in spirit, and he looks forward to be with us when we have the results of the essay competition. I thank you.
Thank you for joining us. That was very beautiful. You're so beautiful, by the way. You look gorgeous. All right, so at this time, we're going to have a dramatization piece from the philosophical section from the students.
Oh, hi, Tiana.
Hi, Alyssa.
Did you hear about the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics approach, or STEM approach to education?
Yeah, I think so.
You have? Did you also know that the STEM ministry is engaging more educational institutions in order to increase the number of students in these disciplines?
Yes.
You did?
I heard all about this and I'm so excited. I was reading something the other day by the Minister of Education. Hold on, let me just pull it up so we can see it together.
Okay.
This is a national imperative, says the most honorable Favour Williams. This is out of a recognition of the urgent need to increase the levels of innovation and critical thinking required for future careers and economic advancement in Jamaica.
That's incredible.
Mind-blowing.
That's amazing. I really think that, more schools need to have that in their programs. Yeah.
Wait. I don't mean to eavesdrop, but don't you think STEM education needs to embrace the critical thinking and diversity of thinking that is native to the field of philosophy? This sort of thinking is geared towards not only problem solving, but also accepts ideas only based on rational grounds. It may also interest you to know that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics cannot drive good moral behavior in this 21st century without being applied through philosophical ethics.
Yes. You see, I agree with you, Reese. Philosophy promotes good moral behavior. Yes? Yes, indeed. It is a unique discipline that takes people outside of their comfort zone for a deeper understanding of themselves, other human beings, and the world at large. You see, in this connection, scientific and technological knowledge should be deeply rooted in ethical reasoning for it not to be counterproductive.
Wow, I've never thought about it that way before.
Yes, indeed.
Mind blown. I mean, I guess when you think about it that way, we all need each other, science and philosophy.
Yes, indeed, exactly.
Exactly.
All right, so also Professor Harding is also going to be donating his philosophical books and writings to the faculty as well, to the Department of Language and Linguistics and Philosophy, just to make note. All right, so last but not least, we're going to have Diraja, I hope I'm saying that right, who is an international recording and performing reggae artist.
Check 1, 2. Good day to each and everyone here. I want to say to Miss Connell, who is the event and marketing coordinator, thanks very much for inviting me here. To all the royal and distinguished guests from the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, and UNESCO, it's an honor for me. Deraja is my name, as in Derajah. Thanks for having me. I'm here to make a musical presentation, but as it regards philosophy, I couldn't help but mention Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and he has a book that is called The Philosophies and Opinion of Marcus Garvey. We are talking here about transhumanism, and I've heard a lot of information and opinion, and I'm just saying, in everything that we do, let us create a balance. Of course, there's a human hack that is taking place, and when you hack human, or you hack the minds of persons or people, then anything can happen. Let us try to find a balance. I'm gonna have my assistant play my track, and I'm here to talk about some of the stuff that I see taking place in Jamaica. So this track is titled Ghetto Youths. Just a moment. Mothers and the fathers are bawling, calling out. Do the right thing, keep my self-esteem. I and I a king, you a queen, well. You just them falling out. Mothers and the fathers are bawling, them calling out. Do the right thing, keep my self-esteem. Live clean. Say your black brother disrespect and you go shoot him. Tell me if you feel justified, tell me the truth, king. Was it just you or your friend them boots in? Telling you to shoot when they never plan to salute him. Now the man body lie down on the ice, and it's not so nice. Mama ball and your friend them rejoice. I don't know what you had in life, but all I know, me brother, yes, you could have think twice. Think twice. You just them falling out. Mothers and the fathers are bawling, calling out. Do the right thing, keep my self-esteem. I and I a king, you a queen, wow. You just them falling out. Mothers and the fathers bawling, calling out. Do the right thing, keep my self-esteem. Live clean. In the West, happy stress and will lynch attitude. Nevertheless, me say we got to push on through. How many youth them slay, me say day by day. The government opinion is I have nothing to say. Well, politics infest the place with guns and gunshot. Get a youth I said the fire burning hot. In a time when certain things occur, yo, the vibes drop. Night and them funeral becomes the hot spot. Well then, woman a buy new frock. A competition and she said the white one and her at no match. Get a youth get pressed. Let them celebrate more life they make. That's why them have them champagne a pop. Rastafari say stop. Every innocent get a youth where you shoot at yourself your shot. More life and strength is the way. I tell them listen me tell them from top. You just them falling out. Mothers and the fathers bawling, calling out. Do the right thing, keep my self-esteem. And I tell you, live clean. You just them falling. Mothers and the fathers are bawling, calling. Please, la la la, la la la, la la, la la la, la la la. I tell them yeah. La la la, la la la, la la. What a la la. I tell you say, love and honor. Blessed God. Yeah man, thanks a lot. That's my opinion, and that's my philosophy, you know. I think we need to learn how to coexist, and too many times we tend to put the least important stuff on the front burner and put the most important thing on the back burner. Love should not just be only a word, but it should be also in our action. And for us to coexist as persons, as people, we need to show love. Earlier, I tried to count off the amount of ladies that are here. And Missy said the bridging them, the man them, match up. I got about 15, 16 ladies. And I see about 12, 13, 14 men. And I like it because I'm seeing a balance, or somewhat of a balance. In the homes here in Jamaica, a lot of males are missing. And I can tell you, when males are missing in the homes, it's somewhat a catastrophe taking place. I want to say give thanks to each and every one again here. I'm going to help my assistant. I'm going to assist him with getting my other track together. Thank you very much again. I did this song for my mom, but to all the mothers out there, this one is for you. Mama, you're the greatest. Greatest of them all. You never put a Raja in the dungeon. Pull up that song for me, please, and thanks. So to all the mothers out there, again, thanks for your work. Mama, you're the greatest. Greatest of them all. You never put a Raja in the dungeon, no. You stand up firm like a wall. Greatest. Greatest of them all. I tell you, say, listen to me now. What a mama. Every time I try to sing this song, it's like tears are coming out my eye, you know? Because I know what single mothers goes through. I know what mom who are fighting to stay alive. Mom who are fighting to keep the household together. I know what it is like. I'm gonna try to do my best, okay? Even though things may be rough at times, oh yes, may be tough at times, you never ever contemplate giving up. Mama, yes, you're always shining, just like a star. Mama, I admire how diligent you are. Grace and voice, beauty. My mother never slew me. Mama, you're the greatest. Greatest of them all. You never put a Raja in the dungeon, no. Well then, what a mama, love banana. I'm on rise the banner, Banda Sanya. I just wanna thank you for all the things you have done. Stop this song, please. This song means so much to me. I get emotional. And I just want to say to all the mothers here, thanks for the work that you have done. Thanks for everything that you are doing, because you are still the backbone of our nation. And do remember, there can't be mothers without fathers. All the fathers who are here and who have done their work, not just as bragging rights, telling persons that, you know, a 14 youth may have. I really respect you. Can I do one more song? Can I do one more song? I'm gonna skip Mama and do one more song. Is it okay? Thank you very much. And this song is coming from my brand new album, which was released on the 6th of October of this year. The album is titled Prosperity. I want you to stream it, like and share. Deraja is my name. Listen. Romeo fall, Babylon a quake. Listen now. Compensation could never recompense with them damage. I tell them, say them treat us so savage. Now that becomes man's best friend. I remember the days I tell them through the middle passage. Many could not take it, so they jump overboard. Greatest genocide to man, a very heavy load. I tell them explode. Yes, a explosion. When I ride a touchy road, the wicked mind I tell them every day, them a bank to Rastafari. I give thanks. Not even the dog who piss up on the walls of Rome shall escape the spunk. Rome, yes, I fall. Babylon, wake. I call Pantafari. Night and day, yeah. Will I Rome a fall? Whole place a shake. I tell the wicked man, whoa, cannot escape. Sound the trumpet loud. I tell them, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Blessed Lord. I'd like to make a presentation to UNESCO and to University of the West Indies. I am also a part of a band called Inna the Yard, and we have some beautiful albums out now. I want to leave my Prosperity album and the Inna the Yard Family Affair album with the department, if that's okay. Is it okay? Is it okay? Thank you very much. Have a wonderful and a blessed day.
All right, thank you for that so much, Diraja.
Thank you very much, my dear.
And I want to also thank the students of philosophy for the dramatization earlier as well. That was beautiful. So now we're gonna move on to Irina Bruce. She's a YouTuber, researcher, and journalist, and she will be continuing the minutes of the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And I must say, I'm originally from Ukraine, been living in Jamaica for 9 years now. And I can say, like, this is only in Jamaica. You come for the World Philosophy Day and you listen to reggae. Okay, so this is amazing. So let's big up Jamaican culture, please. Big up Jamaican culture. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, we are going to run the panel discussion. And I would like to introduce these students who are going to make some introductions. I see some people are leaving. Thank you. All right, so Alyssa Reynolds and Reese Harriet. Right, so can we please welcome them?
Good morning, everyone. All right, so my name is Alyssa Reynolds, and I'll be introducing our first panelist for today's discussion. So he is actually one of my lecturers here at the university, and is someone that I am very proud that I can say I can call him an inspiration. Mr. Simeon Mahansing, he's right over there. So Mr. Mahansing got his first degree in mathematics and physics from what is now known as the Northern Caribbean University. He then completed a double major in philosophy and psychology right here at the University of the West Indies, Mona. He served on the National Bioethics Committee for over, oh my. That's fine. He served on the National Bioethics Committee for over 4 years, and he's also the recipient of the European's Master of Bioethics. And as a bioethicist, he has lectured at the All-American Institute of Medical Science, and as I said earlier, he currently lectures philosophy here at the university in the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy.
Recognize me? Hello, I am Reese Harriet, a philosophy major, and I'm here to introduce George Mikulski, right there. Everyone give him a big round of applause. Louder than that, please. Good, good, good. All right, now, George Mikulski currently teaches academic and technical writing at the University of West Indies Mona campus. He also has a PhD candidate in education and social justice at the University of Lancaster in the United Kingdom. His current research specifically examines the impact of gender politics on writing instruction in the Caribbean higher education. More broadly, his research interests surround the intersections of language, education, writing, studies, gender and culture, as well as issues related to inclusive and equitable education in the Caribbean. He has been working as an educator since 2016. So, once again, welcome, George. Thank you.
I would like to add that we're going to have one more panelist today. Brilliant. Dr. Janice Smith, if you can please come to the panel discussions. Thank you. Please welcome. All right, thank you. I do hope that we're going to have more people next year, and I'm going to make sure this will happen, because as a YouTuber with a large following and a big fan of philosophy, right, I know now what it is, so I'm going to try to promote it for next year so we have more people. So thank you, everyone. So let's start. Oh, that would be you? Oh, yes.
Okay, afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah. Welcome to those who are here in person, face to face, and also those online. My opening remarks would have been made easier because most of the dignitaries have exited, and therefore I recognize, some who are left. Ms. Cavero, we thank you. Dr. Brady West, good to see you. Dr. Rotimi Omoshulu, yeah. All right, make sure we get that correct, yes. And thanks to our chair, Shana. Good. I'm sure there are others that I may be missing. And I want to say thanks to, it's not the vote of thanks, but I appreciate MITS for being here to cover. I think we're going live, and we say thanks for that stream. And a big thank you to the students who are here. How could we forget them? Yes. Yeah. Some time ago, they permit me to speak for a minute or two before the presentation. I had a discourse with a former assistant registrar, and she said to me that when she came to the university, she did a course in philosophy. She had no idea what philosophy was. And in the middle of the semester, she was asked to write an essay on philosophy. She was like, what am I going to write? And she said close to the end of the semester, it ballooned on her the benefits that she accrued from doing this course in philosophy. And she said she made a recommendation to the university that every student that walks through the gates of this campus, this university, should do at least one course in philosophy. So I'm throwing that challenge out today to everybody who would not have yet registered for even a course, even if it's not your major or your minor, do a course in philosophy. Overseas philosophy is mandatory for most students at universities. What's happening to us here? And but there are so many benefits to be accrued from doing a course in philosophy. I want to say a special thanks also to Miss Kimaha Connell. Kim, can we give Kim a hand? Yeah. You know, when I chatted with Kim yesterday, I could see the stress on her face. Had to give her a hug. Yeah. Great work. Thank you. And so much so about philosophy that this beautiful young lady seated at the front here, she saw me one day walking on the corridor, and she said, "Excuse me." I said, "Yeah." "Are you the lecturer for philosophy of sex and love?" I said, "Yeah." "Okay, I'm going to register for it for next year." So already people are beginning to think, not just philosophically, but to do philosophy. Yeah. And we had some brilliant ones coming up here this morning to do introductions and doing skits. They are students of philosophy. And after this session, we're going to have Speak with a Philosopher, where you can talk to a philosopher about what philosophy really is. All right, so today I'm thrust in the position of speaking on transhumanism. I'll deliberate for the most part on the ethics of transhumanism. I'm not necessarily a pessimist when it comes to technological advancements, but we have to be cautiously optimistic. And that's the attitude to the presentation today. Transhumanism, what is it? Essentially, transhumanism is an intermediary between being a human and a superhuman or an enhanced human. Others would say it's a position on the continuum between being a human and post-human. Except in this sense, because we have often heard about a posthumous award, and that is normally after the death of the person. But post-human in this sense is not after the death of the human, but an enhanced capacity of the human being. So you're not quite still a human, you are little more than a human. And therefore, the little more than a human will make us superhuman. And there are some attributes of being transhuman. So as you hear the word trans, you know, you're traveling, you're in transit, you're moving from one point to another point, you are in between something. So the idea behind the transhumanism is to lift us from where we are in pure humanness to merge us with technology so we can be advanced in terms of our cognition, in terms of our longevity, how much longer we can live, to defy aging, if you may. And so it is a field, it's evolving as we speak. We are a little there. Recently I was watching a video, and there was a gentleman who lost an eye, and he said he didn't get back an eye, but he asked for a camera to be implanted in that socket. So he now has a camera in one socket and an eye in the other. And he thinks he's beginning to be a transhuman. Right. So, today, as I continue, humanness is both being extended and increased with the use of technologies like artificial intelligence, gene therapy, nanotechnology, etc. We could also say that it is a state of the human being both natural and artificial at the one and the same time. Life can be indefinite, but not necessarily immortal. The thrust of transhumanists at this point is not for immortality, but for humans to live indefinitely. What's the difference? So to live indefinitely means necessarily that you are not immortal, but the time period with which you live as a human is very unlimited and indefinite. So we could be looking on a living maybe for 200-300 years in the future, relative and vis-a-vis to the max 120 years now that humans normally live. I don't know. You know, some people argue 70, and by reason of strength, another 10. But people have lived past 100 years, but not many would have lived past 120. It's not like in yesteryears when you know, the person that lived the longest. Do we know who that is? Methuselah. Very good. And he lived for 969 years. That's many years of living. Is that where we are going back? Are transhumanists turning back the hands of time for us to go that far? So I'm going to look on some philosophical issues, and the first one I will start with is autonomy. So if a person is autonomous, auto, self, numus, rule, if you're autonomous, then you self-rule. You can make decisions. Once you have that full capacity, you can make decisions on your own behalf. You do not rely on others to dictate to you who you are. Now, if you are a transhuman, and you're programmed to function in a particular way, it means your autonomy has been necessarily compromised. And what would be the effect of compromising one's autonomy? Since your autonomy has been compromised, so too is your responsibility and accountability. You could now act illegally and immorally because you are no longer responsible for your action. And in contemporary days, this is what is normally referred to as a temporary state of insanity, and it's used in the legal sphere, and the legal luminaries will actually tell you it's a defense strategy. You know, so if you are not existing at the time when you committed the act, then you cannot be held responsible for an act that you did not commit. And so if our autonomy is compromised, then we can escape responsibilities for our actions. Justice. John Rawls argues for fair and equal distribution, and this type of advancement, as in transhumanism, could only favor the rich because it's a lot of money. You know, I was reading up on Elon Musk yesterday, and his spaceship, the first one, crashed, blew up, but yet he has enough money to pump in there again in order to restart and to send another one in space. How many of us could contribute to that? How many of us here? How many of us here could pay for the necessary artifacts to be installed in us for us to become transhumans? Or is it only or primarily for the rich? While the rich lives in the state of enlightenment, others like us continue to die in the dark, unfortunately. Adding another layer of ostracizing the haves and the have-nots. And we have seen that here in the Caribbean. A former prime minister would normally speak about the two Jamaicas, the haves and the have-nots. And, you know, he would normally make reference from Crossroad down is the have-nots, but from Crossroads up, we have the haves. So the line is being widened. The buffer zone that exists between the rich and the poor is being widened. The next point I want to mention is sentient beings. Who's a sentient being? A sentient being is anyone that has the capacity to feel pain and experience, or well, to experience pleasure and feel pain. Let me put it that way. A sentient being is one who has the capacity to experience pleasure and feel pain. You know, as the Raja performed just now, he said he felt emotional when he was doing the song about mother. And I questioned at the point in time, should we become transhumans? Where will our emotions be? Where will this capacity of humanness go? Right now, it is so important that we feel pain. And transhumanists are on the drive to remove the capacity for us to feel pain. So let's take a simple example. You're in your kitchen cooking, as we are now, fully human, and our hand would go beside the flame, and it burns, we would pull it away. Imagine the day comes when you're not able to feel pain and your hand is over the flame. What burns? Let's think about, is this what we really want? Jürgen Habermas makes a distinction between what is grown versus what is made. She or he who is born has emotions, has feelings, has sensations, has senses. Depriving that individual of its natural bodiness would mean that we have compromised our humanness. Are we eradicating humans and or humanness? Is this where we are going? Where we would have lost the sense of emotion, the sense of feeling, the sense of caring? Is that where we really want to go? The value of life. The value of life. So from a utilitarian perspective, and I think many people, most if not all in this room, would know that the authors of utilitarianism, Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, would have argued for the greatest happiness for the greatest number, but also the value of one's life. As we speak, lives are essentially equal. But when we have a transhuman and comparing the life of the transhuman to the normal, natural human, is one life more valuable? And if so, which one? Consider the investment that would go in making you a transhuman, compared to me, who nothing is invested in. Who would care so much about the value of my life? Anyways, you don't value much. I want to go where the transhumans are. That's where investments are made. So the value of lives are going to differ. Some lives are now going to be more valuable than others. What an inequity that we intend to face. And could there be total annihilation of the less valued lives? Could there be, just could there be, that your life is so invaluable, so not valuable, but the transhumans is invaluable, and therefore would rather work with those that are invaluable. A friend of mine doesn't like that word, invaluable. It tends to suggest it has no value. But what it really means is that it cannot be valued. It's so valuable, it's beyond being valued. So the transhumans would actually be more invaluable. So let us consider what of the less valued lives. Identity problems. If humans are transformed into transhumans after they are married, it is likely we will see an increase in the divorce rates. spouses can justifiably claim that the partner they married is not the one now sharing their matrimonial bed. And, you know, I know of the case where a lady took her husband to court to divorce him because when she married him, he was not a smoker or a drunkard. So she filed a divorce on the basis that this was not the man I married. And it was done so successfully. So can you imagine? You're married to your partner, but during the process after marriage, you have changed. This is not you. I can't even touch you. And you say, oh, that feels good. Yeah, yeah. Or hug you and you hug me in return. No, all that gone through the door. It could not be you that I married. So guess what? There could be a rise in the divorce rates. I mean, already high. Could be higher. Indefinite lifespan removes the prospect of death within a given time. So we no longer know that within this time frame we may die. We just don't know as a transhuman when we will die. It is so indefinite. It is so uncertain. And what this does is that, you know, for the life that we now live, we try to maximize our objectives in this life with a sense of urgency because we know we're not living indefinitely. We know probably tomorrow we are gone, probably weekend, probably next week, next year, we are gone. So we try to achieve as much as we can within this small bracket. So the prospect of death in and of itself gives meaning to many lives. If this phenomenon is taken away, life now lacks meaning. Living no longer has any intrigue or urgent need for fulfillment. Boredom and a frustration sets in. I think I have 2 minutes to wrap up. Very shortly. Categorical and practical imperatives, and this would necessarily be from Immanuel Kant. From a deontological perspective, Kant would have argued through his categorical imperative against using another solely as a means to an end. And this is what normally happens when we do experimentation on human subjects. We use them as a means to an end. So we're objectifying human beings. And through his practical imperative and the concept of universalizability, is this what we would want to become a universal law, that every human being should become a transhuman? One being or two, if we now have a new human being through the process of artificially enhancing capacities and capabilities, where then is the old? If we now have a new, where is the old man? Has one being annihilated from the earth without even leaving a trace? And would such a condition even impact our population counts? When transhumans living indefinitely, no? When transhumans begin to live indefinitely, there will be an increase in unemployment. There will be less frequency of death. The construction and casket making industries, likewise for the undertakers, will suffer. The already fragile food security will be further eroded. It is unethical to displace the masses for the benefit of a few, the affluent. In closing, let us ponder the possibilities and potentialities of extending the human life, but at the same time reducing the humanness of mankind. Are these states of existence incongruous and or mutually exclusive? If they are, which I'm preferring is the case, let us choose wisely and not create an atmosphere conducive for the annihilation of you and me to the fortune of quasi-metahumans. Thank you.
I would like to introduce Mr. George Makowski. Can you please come and continue? Thank you. Applause, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So all protocols having been well established, although please permit me to recognize persons, my colleagues from the philosophy section specifically, who have so ably put this session together in recognition of World Philosophy Day. Dr. Smith is here, Mr. Mohan Singh, Dr. Omashulu, yes, and of course, Ms. Connell, who has been at the helm of all of this. So thank you very much for your contribution. And the students as well, who so ably are with us and made their presentations. So I will be a little bit briefer than Mr. Mohan Singh, but nonetheless some important reflections to be shared. So in thinking about my what I would share today, I thought about my own positioning as an English language instructor, as a teacher, as an academician, as an educator. And I thought about the theme, transhumanism in the Caribbean, and its potentials as well as its possibilities in relation primarily to education. So although digital technology is important in our everyday lives and has been an integral component of recent major industries, innovators in those industries in education, medicine, and so on, it is something that needs to be considered critically and in a really profound way, not in a surface level way at all, not at all. Reflecting on the theme of World Philosophy Day, which is displayed there, I first recall, of course, my own teaching philosophy, which was developed at the beginning of my journey in being trained as a teacher. Initially, so in language education, which is my background, foreign language teaching and learning, as well as the teaching of English language, I really subscribed or have subscribed to the notion of dealing with language or teaching language, allowing students to notice. I really am a follower of the noticing hypothesis, which sort of dictates essentially that once you are able to notice the similarities and differences between your own language and the target language, the second language, the foreign language, you'll be able to see patterns, and that will enhance your learning. In practical ways, technology has been useful in my own teaching. I think about a few years ago when I was teaching Spanish to some youngsters at the primary level, and something that a lot of persons use for their own personal development, Duolingo, something simple really, that you think about just helping you to learn another language. The students, I was able to use it to help students to acquire vocabulary items in Spanish. Students were interested and attentive whenever it was that we were using this interface. So it has the ability, technology has the ability to help. And I think we need to be, in thinking about transhumanism, focus on its abilities to be helpful, to complement what exists already. I think too that furthermore, on the perspective of transhumanism, the value of it as its use as a complement is important. And in my own discipline, academic writing, rhetoric, composition studies, it has been established that although artificial intelligence, the generative AI, ChatGPT, etc., can be useful in terms of researching, writing, and so on, its presence needs to be acknowledged. So it needs to be stated or indicated through citation where it is and what it is that it's been used to do, whether it is to develop an idea or as a prompt that the results are shared in your study or whatever it is that you're writing. I also do think as well that technological tools have the ability to offer resources, particularly to marginalized communities and historically underserved communities, in the same way as a complement to existing initiatives. The issue, however, that we must consider is the extent to which these technological tools, how they are used, and whether there's a complementary relationship which is ultimately geared towards human development. I think that needs to be the goal. So I was brief. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Sorry, I've been listening, so sorry. It's when I listen, I kind of get too much into it. So I would like to ask Dr. Jenny Smith, can you please come? Thank you.
Good afternoon again, everyone, and permission again to accept the protocols as they have been read. So I'm wondering why I'm here, and I know many of you are wondering why I'm here, but I'm taking one for the team. As philosophers, we are encouraged that we need to be spontaneous. All right, so I'm going to look a little bit briefly at transhumanism and personal identity, and be diligent with your questions after. Alright, so this is Transhumanism and Personal Identity, a Caribbean Perspective, and I may touch a little bit on other perspectives. So transhumanism can be described as the intentional act of human beings towards independent evolution of the human species, using science and technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, cognitive neurosciences, and nanotechnology to augment current human physical and mental capabilities and transform them into a post-human state of existence. Transhumanism, of course, raises questions concerning the authenticity of human self in this post-human phase of existence and raises alarming questions of personal identity. Personal identity, as understood from the Caribbean perspective, is one's conscious acceptance of self as a being existing in space and time with connections and relations to a generational lineage as an ethnic, racial, and historical member of a group that binds an individual to their personhood. The authenticity of personhood is registered in factors such as age, time, place, relations, life, and death. And so I will look at some of these issues here. So, all right. So Charles Darwin, of course, in his theory of human evolution, had postulated that humans would eventually naturally evolve into that place where selection is one that the species itself starts to determine certain traits about what qualities it wants to have. And so transhumanism is oftentimes looked at that present day solution to that place where Darwinism or Charles Darwin had postulated that we would get to that later stage of evolutionary process. So transhumanism, the philosophical and scientific movement, of course, as we can call it, basically when it shifts intelligence, we notice that there may be some issues as it relates to species development, because now instead of natural selection, then human beings are tapping into what is going to be that next stage of humans evolving. So the question is, how many minutes? Oh, sorry. So the question is, can we augment human physical and mental capacity without changing the essence of that individual? Brain manipulation research has shown that the changing of people's motivation or personality by any form of physical chemical action or any mechanism which seeks to shift anything in the brain will cause certain side effects to occur. So we notice that when these things take place, the individual would end up experiencing priority changes and ultimately differences in their ability to think, remember, and plan. There may also, according to Gregory, 1998, experience mood shifts, incoherence, and distorted relationships. The mind and the brain, of course, are embodied, and so any shift in one alters the ability or end result of the other. When this shift takes place, we have to consider what will happen to personhood. And there are just three perspectives that I'm going to quickly highlight that we can even look at and discuss further. The first one has to do with the fact that when it comes to personhood or that concept, we understand that there's relativity of beings. For instance, in different cultures, persons may be represented, or who is referred to a person may change. For instance, we know that there are dualistic explanations of a person as having a mind or soul and a body. But then, for instance, in African cultures, many cultures appreciate a tripartite understanding of the person, where the person is seen as the head, the body, and the mind or the soul. So how do we allow in transhumanism the recognition or acceptance of that difference where persons and personal identity is concerned? The second one, of course, has to do with history. We follow a particular heritage or culture, which is something that shapes who we are as a people. And so we all share different histories, which is an important part of who we see ourselves as in the present. How will transhumanism factor in those aspects of being, so much so that we can recognize ethnic groups as well? not just racially, but ethnically, all right? And in the struggle for race relations, you know, who will be first priority, who will be second priority, and are we saying that transhumanism is going to eliminate the aspect of race? All right, and the third and final one that I will look at now is, of course, our tendencies of similarity. I'm pulling on the theoretical perspective of family resemblance, where there are certain things within the context of a family that is, you know, it's generic to who we are. And so we can notice similarities in family relationships. They help to solidify and make identity a cohesive thing amongst family members, so much so that we can say, okay, this must be, you know, Miss Etty's granddaughter because, for instance, we notice certain similar tendencies in the personality traits. So finally, based on the theme, transhumanism in the Caribbean, potentials and possibilities, we have to ask the question about the possibility for personal identity as conscious continuity. Because of the phenomenological nature of ourselves as human beings, where our consciousness is directed towards something, now technology is helping to direct that consciousness. So have we lost, you know, our independence as human beings? Mr. Mohan Singh spoke about some interesting things when it comes to identity. For instance, our emotions, our desires, which are very much important. How will those be affected? A part of the ethics of being a human being is that we have control over certain things, And so the big question is, how does the possibility of human identity, a Caribbean identity, an identity of anywhere, how will that be impacted or affected by transhumanism? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, before we open the panel for the questions and a little further discussion, I would like to add some things that haven't been mentioned yet. And one of the important things is that if you look at me right now, I am at the first stage of being a transhuman. Look at what I have in my hand. At my fingertips, I get the whole information of humanity, the one that had been, you know, studied for ages, centuries before us. And I have it all right here in my hand. We live at the age when this is possible. But another thing I have in my head is a lot of misinformation. And the only way to distinguish one from the other is studying the branches of philosophy. Because otherwise, we're going to be stuck with a lot of false stuff presented to us with no ability to know whether they are true or not. There have been a lot of things mentioned about the ethical problems of transhumanism and how this can affect our identity. I do have to add as well how it's going to influence our view of religion. And how is it going to influence our beliefs? How we're going to see what's actually important. If humans are able to live for 500 years, or if they're able to transfer their mind into the computer and stay there forever, how's that going to change us? And the answer is, we don't know, and we cannot possibly know. Just like the humans who lived 100 years ago couldn't possibly imagine what internet's going to be like. They wouldn't know. So the same way we cannot know, but we definitely have to be prepared. And of course, the value of life is going to differ. But I don't think it's going to be that our life would be less valuable than the life of a transhuman. Just like today, you know, we see a lot of expensive devices, but they're still not as valuable as humans. So, you know, it depends on the situation. But the possibility that transhumanism opens to all of us are incredible. Imagine learning languages. I've studied 13 foreign languages, and I still can't speak any of them fluently, except maybe English a little bit. But imagine we just can record the languages into our mind by just, you know, how is that gonna change our education? I also have to admit I'm a gamer. I play computer games, despite my age and being a woman and having 2 kids. They love their mother, I can tell you. But the point I'm making is that when I'm playing computer games, the multiplayer games, it allows you to test your identity. It allows you to become somebody and see the world from a different perspective. Now, imagine we have virtual reality where we could study history by placing ourselves into that historical period and going through that as ourselves, trying to be in the shoes of the people who live there. So this is some of the incredible possibilities of transhumanism, but of course, all the ethical dilemmas. So I would like to open the panel discussion with the questions to our panelists. And is there anybody who would like to start? Anyone with the questions? No? Not yet? Okay, then let me ask you. Oh, yes. Wait a second. I can pronounce your name. Wait. Dr. Amasulu. All right, brilliant.
Thanks so much, all presenters, all panelists. My question is for Mr. Muazzin. You made us to believe that autonomy is very important to our existence in terms of transhumanism. And you also linked that up to justice, that if transhumanism is permitted, then there won't be justice. And you know that philosophy is about promoting the human condition. Hannah Arendt wrote a book titled The Human Condition. Albert Camus also spoke about the myth of Sisyphus, that is the meaninglessness of life. So if I have the wherewithal, if I have the money to apply transhumanism in order to make me to be more efficient, why should that be injustice? That is my worry.
Okay, this is a very, very good question. All right, can maybe come, or you have the microphone. Okay.
Thanks, Doc, for your question. In a world where there is scarcity of funding, in particular, and I want to mention that HLA Hart would have responded by saying how equal we are as human beings. We seem to have similar goals, similar objectives in life. And he made the point also that by our very nature, we are very egotistic. And as individuals who are social beings, we should have that sense of altruism where we can lend a helping hand to those who are less fortunate. It is that kind of humanity that we exist in now, and it is going to get worse if we look on this nano divide that exists. So the fact that we are social beings, we ought to be caring beings and lend to the less fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else got another question? Anyone in the... Yes? The microphone, if you can pass the microphone to the gentleman here.
Simeon, I was thinking about the challenges that one was engaged, would have to interact with your engaging presentation. The simple question to you is that how do we, in a literal way, relate our aspirations as human beings to the reality that there are limits to our capacities, potentials, and abilities, and, so to speak, have this kind of reconciled approach, or as I believe, a empirical approach and embrace of our reality. So the question is, how do we either reconcile our aspirations and explore our potentials to achieve transhumanism with the reality that we are limited as human beings? The second question I would...
Oh, let's do one at a time, because otherwise it's going to be tricky to answer, I believe. All right, so if you can answer this first question, and then we just carry on with the second one.
Okay. So, as I said a little earlier, I'm not a pessimist regarding technological advancement, and I believe there can be a middle ground rather than two extremes. There's a continuum, naturally, and I don't think all of us want to sit in this state that we are now in and disregard the possibilities of enhancing our cognition. You know, it is one thing to sit on the outskirts and say we oppose it, but when our own lives or our own relatives are dying, and there is a way that we can help them out of not necessarily death but dying, then we would want to assist them. But how far do we go in removing the humanness that we have within ourselves? You know, there was a lady with a mango tree, and the guys would pass in the morning and stone the mango tree. Lick off the ripe one, the turn one, the green one, the blossom, everything. And she got somebody to pick some mangoes, ripe mangoes, put them in a box, put it at the gate. So when the guys come, they would just take it up. And the guys came and used the same ripe mango to hit the other mangoes on the tree. There is something about us as humans wherein there lies the intrigue. And I'm saying if we remove that level of intrigue from our humanness, we have gone beyond human, which is, I believe, gone too far. And so if we can, and I'm sure there is, a way to moderate the use of technology, then I'm in full support of that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The second question?
I would direct to Dr. Smith. So, one of Professor Cohenberg's point was to also understand the challenges or the perverted use of technology. I would like to ask you, how would you look at exploiting, for selfish reasons, technology and seek to reconcile the practicalities? For example, she held up her phone, those elements that we are using now that are aspects of our endeavor to enhance our capacities. So if I may put the question more simply, people may want to pervert and, of course, exploit technology. How do you reconcile that kind of approach with the fact that we do have and achieve, development in having some form of that technology that we want?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let me see how I will start. Well, the first thing is that as human beings, we were always from, maybe late 19th, 20th century, interacting more and more with technology in various ways. Since the introduction of virtual reality and the possibilities of us as human beings interacting with that reality, we have in some way been interacting with reality in ways that it depends on the ethical scope from which you're looking at it. We may see it as perversion. manipulating technology when it comes to now tapping into one's brain in order to augment, increase, change certain things in how humans function, that is something else. The voice of reason that is within us as human beings, that ethical voice, will tell us that we should be aware of man taking control of certain things, because some people are prone to, as you mentioned, unethical behaviors. The big question about reconciling it is who will have control, whose culture is going to be that one that leads the charge where this is concerned. It is something that has to be a political debate. Yes, we're here raising conversations concerning it and our own feelings about it, but how much of a change are we allowed to make when we have world powers too that are making decisions for us, and we simply sometimes just fit into the scope of what those decisions are? So it's not an easy question to answer in terms of reconciliation. Will some people be allowed to say, okay, I don't want to be transhumanized, Will people have a choice is the more imperative question, I believe. And if you don't follow certain choices when it comes to that, what will be the repercussions? There will always be human beings who pervert what we consider to be ethical principles. And ethical principles are also relative. There are some cultures which are highly technological, which for them, the ethics of using technology to enhance human life is not even a question, because they see it as a betterment for themselves. For us here in the Caribbean, we question everything whether we like it or not. That's our personality. We don't trust anything. We think everything is some, conspiracy theory, because of the history of where we're coming from as human beings. So I think that's a very, very difficult question to pinpoint a single answer.
Okay, thank you so much for such a detailed reply. Thank you. All right, any more questions? Any more questions? Maybe from the students? Yes, please.
Okay, so my question was...
I think it's better, for the other microphone.
Okay, so my question was, and this is to any of the panelists, the part of Mr. Mahansing's presentation when we spoke about the value of human life and how that would compare to the value of a transhuman life. But I wanted to, get a deeper understanding of if we as human beings, as we are now, of course we have our limits, but that is what makes us special as a species. We have our understanding, we have our level of comprehension, our minds, our souls. That's what really ties into the essence of what a human being should be. So to me, I'm trying to think about how transhuman, I see the point that Mr. Manting was making about the investment that you'd have to put in for a transhuman, how their life could possibly become more valuable. But to me, transhumans would not be as valuable as human beings, because even with their additions, the extent, and I should say I'm a STEM major, so technically I should be in favor of transhumanism. But I can see both sides. I'm a student of philosophy as well, and so
maybe the question.
Oh, sorry. What I wanted to get to is why. Well, my point of thought, was if transhumans are able to do things that we as human beings cannot do, if they have greater limits, they can't feel as much pain as we can, they're able to live longer. To me, that makes them less valuable, because they're sort of not so special. Okay. They can do these great things, but at the end of the day, as humans, our limitations, our humanness is what makes us, to me, the greater the more valuable. So I wanted to get your thoughts
Well,
on.
this is a very good point, and I think the point itself answers the kind of question. So thank you so much, and this is very, very nicely added. I do want to. I see. Is there a question from this corner here? Yes, please. Can you pass the microphone? Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much for the presentations. And actually, my question was for Dr. Smith as well. Because there was a link with personal identity, but there's also kind of, and I don't know, from the ethical perspective, when we're talking about different types of technology and algorithms, it's also people that are going in and creating these spaces and like creating the codes and developing the algorithms or developing the technology. And so there's also our personal like biases, the way we read the world, the way we analyze the world are also kind of infused in this, right? So that's why we have discrimination bias, we have data biases that are being perpetuated through AI, for example. So I was wondering, how does that also, what is your reflection on that even us creating these technological advances, because they have the human touch in them, also already have biases or can exacerbate biases, gender-based discrimination, or any sort of inequalities?
Thank you so much for this question. Maybe if you can react to the previous comment, sorry, because I didn't let you react, or would you like to answer the question first? Yeah, okay, so yeah, please answer the question.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear concerning your question. You're asking, for instance, what is my view based on the fact that the persons who are responsible for putting this technology together as human beings may have some form of bias? Well, the first thing is that, yes, none of us are mechanical human beings. Science prides itself on being very much objective, but we've learned that based on theoretical perspectives from persons such as Thomas Kuhn, that the ideal of science is one that it's not so objective as we think it is, because it's still human beings who are initiating. My concern with human beings initiating is, has there been a global dialogue that, entails conversation from different cultural groups or even different groups that are represented across genders to see, how do people feel about this technology, and is everyone's ideal being represented, and so based on that, to ensure that as little bias as possible is a part of the developmental process. Do people really ask questions about how we feel about the future of ourselves being manipulated in this particular way? Yes, it's good, for instance, if you lose a leg and technology is able to help you so you can continue to perform in the fullness of who you are as a human being, because that's a part of the consciousness of who you are, the physical in and of itself too. But all those other things that makes us who we are, and the variations, the diversity of it that exists in the world, where is the representation of that is my question. And who determines what this variation may be? Have the discussions been had across cultures? Even between a single culture, there are so many variations. Have we had that intracultural discussion, much less having that intercultural discussion? So that when we make these decisions for the future, it's a better decision that we're trying to, embody. So that's basically my response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Would you like to add something? Yes?
Oh, I was going to respond
yes,
to
please. Yes,
Reynolds'
yes.
comment, and I think it's a very potent one. There should have been made a distinction between the type of value that we were talking about, and the distinction is whether we are assessing it, evaluating it quantitatively, or we are doing so qualitatively. And I think you're making the point that from a qualitative perspective, human beings are more valuable. But I was making the point from a quantitative perspective, the transhumans would be more valuable. So I appreciate the question, which helps us to bring some clarity to it. Thank you.
All right, so thank you. Yeah, sorry I didn't let you answer right away because I thought it was a good point made in general. Yes, George, would you like to?
Yes, I just wanted to, the previous question that was made the point that was made and posed to Dr. Smith. I think it's important to consider issues related to equity, diversity, and inclusion in relation to how technological advances are developed, perpetuated, and utilized. So I think we have an opportunity to consider what some of the issues are that exist in our own human existence currently, and to try to sort of think about how it is that we can bring more persons to the table in terms of developing technologies that are representative of the populations that they serve and don't just perpetuate or maximize the inequalities that exist currently.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have time just for one more question. Anyone? Pardon? Yes. What was? Oh, online? Yeah, but I can't remember what the question was.
No, they're asking online a question.
Oh, online a question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if you can bring it up. Is there a way to bring it up? Technology. Transhumanism. Is the technology going to help us to bring up the question? No? Do you have the question on your phone? No? Yes, please. All right, one sec. Yeah, in the meantime, your question, please. Yeah.
Hello, hi. I want to ask about transhumanism based on an ontological perspective. Now, if you know about ontology, it's concerned with the metaphysics of being, right? And, we always ask, okay, what is transhumanism? What is transhumanism? And the problem with transhumanism is that we don't really have any ontological question about what is humanness, because many philosophers like Aristotle, for instance, would say that, oh, the human is a rational animal, right? But the thing is that, why would you say that the human is a rational animal when humans started out with irrationality? Because irrationality precedes rationality. And then that's why you have the irrationalists, like not only Nietzsche, but Sigmund Freud would say that irrationality is inherent in human nature. But that still doesn't answer the question, because human nature, or nature in general, is quite, what should I say, it cannot be described by using positive terms. It can only be described by what, rather, it is not, like what Dr. Moshulu would say. As human beings, we tend to grow and progress, which I would not going to lie, transhumanism does kind of talk about the changing of the human, but I still doesn't understand what is transhumanism trying to say about the human being. Is it trying to say that the human being, the concept of the human being should be destroyed or abolished in order to free the self, in order to become a process rather than a perfect state? Or is it saying the opposite, saying, well, the only reason why we haven't achieved full humanness because we're still in an animalistic state? So that's kind of like what I'm concerned about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Who can comment on this?
I don't know if I should comment.
Right.
I missed some of what you said, if I should be completely honest. But because you mentioned the whole aspect of ontology, the nature of beings, a part of us being human beings is that we understand that we're not infinite, we're finite. And so you mentioned something about transhumanism, if it's a process or if it's that perfect place that we want to get to as human beings. I believe that Heidegger in Being and Time spoke about the quality of being, being that as human beings, we make decisions, we plan unlike any other being, being other beings such as animals and so on and so forth, based on the fact that we understand our temporality, one, and two, the fact that as beings who are greater than other beings such as animals, we are able to say what their readiness at hand is. What that means is that we determine what the function of other beings possibly could be, and that is what transhumanism is also doing, determining what the next phase of being is. The metaphysics of it comes from the fact that being becomes something else once they become transhuman. Simeon spoke about aging. And the fact that human beings are made to live longer. How does that affect the change of that temporality of ourselves? Shifts or changes now how we interact with everything else around us, including other beings, right? So I'm not sure if I remember all that you asked, but this is just my response based on what came to my mind from how you started what you were saying.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. We have the online question, and we have little time. So if you can... One second.
So repeating the question, how would the panelists respond to the view that ethical behavior can be technologically injected into persons to make them ethically good?
All right, that's a good question, yes. All right, let me take the mic. All right, who will respond to this?
Okay. So I'll just take a quick response. So, because it's a personal view question. I think once that is done, then we're homogenizing ethics and morals. As we understand ethics and morals, they differ from culture to culture, place to place. There are certain values ethically that are placed on practices in one culture versus the next. All right, let us look at the history of philosophy generally, the different ethical principles that have been developed, you know, virtue ethics, utilitarianism, Simeon mentioned that, deontological principles of ethics. We find that those were attempts to try and homogenize ethics by explaining how we ought to, meaning that we try to portray these qualities in the state of our existence. But what we have found is that as cultures, as many as there are different cultures, there are different ethical principles. And so if someone is to inject, you know, ethical principles into a transhumanized human being, then that ability that we naturally have also intuitively to make certain distinctions based on our situation, calculation of risk sometimes, which shapes how we make moral decisions, then I think we would have lost that, you know, quality of ourselves as beings. And world powers, different people could just do different things and we would have already been programmed not to question them. So I think that would be, from my personal point of view, unethical.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Janice just said. Hi, Prof. Bamikole. Good to hear from you from Nigeria. Yeah. Prof. Bamikole is one of our former professors here, left us recently. Good to hear from you, Prof. Right, so, you know, adding ethics or morality to our beingness does not make us ethical or does not make us moral. You are causing us to be moral. You are causing us to be ethical, but ethics and morality should be a voluntary option. We should choose to be. You don't make us be. And therefore, as Jenny said, that in and of itself is unethical. Jeremy Bentham would have argued also that there are two pillars on which we stand, pain and pleasure. And if you are going to remove those from our humanness, then what are we left with? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would like to call Kimaha Cornell. Please come to finish there. Thank you so much, everybody.
Good day, everyone. At the conclusion of a truly inspiring and thought-provoking UNESCO World Philosophy Day celebration, I want to say it was a great honor for us to have all shared together in the proceedings of this day. On the behalf of the Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to all of you. First and foremost, I'd like to sincerely thank Professor Sylvia Cohenberg, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, for giving the opening remarks and setting the tone of the day which was filled with meaningful discourse. Thanks to our head of department, Dr. Vivette Milson-White, for your warm welcome, which made everybody feel comfortable. We thank you for your leadership and your continued effort to support with making the case for the relevance of philosophy here at the University of the West Indies. We extend our appreciation to Professor Marvin Reed, who is representing the principal of the UWI Mona campus, Professor Denzel William. We thank him for his inspiring recorded greetings. Your presence, even though it was virtual, had added prestige to our gathering. Dr. Rotimi Omosulu, Philosophy Section Coordinator, thank you for your insightful remarks. You have guided us through the philosophical landscape, and we're grateful for your expertise and leadership and the leadership of the Philosophy Section. And I have to acknowledge that you are such a versatile person, because he's also the coordinator of the Dramatization, the STEM's Dramatization. So a special thanks to Paula Isturiz Cavero, Program Specialist for Social and Human Sciences at the UNESCO Office for the Caribbean, and Dr. Maria Smith, Program Manager at the Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO. Thank you for declaring the day open, and thank you for supporting our intellectual endeavors. Dr. Smith and the team at JNC-UNESCO have been dedicated supporters of our efforts to raise the visibility of philosophy in Jamaica. They are our main sponsors for this event and our partners in the Oswald Harding Essay Competition. Dr. Doreen Brady-West, the chair of the National Bioethics Committee of Jamaica, your philosophical reflection has challenged our thinking and enriched our perspective. Thanks for sharing your brilliant reflection. Our gratitude extends to Dr. Janice Smith for launching the 2024 Oswald Harding Essay Competition. We look forward to the intellectual contributions that will stem from this initiative. A heartfelt thank you to Mrs. Marigold Harding and family for their generosity. We acknowledge and appreciate the support given to the philosophy section by the Harding family. And a round of applause for Daraja and the students for the dramatization and the musical presentation. Your contributions have brought cultural richness to our event, and we thank you. Now, also, Alyssa Reynolds and Reese Harriott, thank you for introducing our panelists. Now, let us express our deepest appreciation to our distinguished panelists Mr. Simeon Mahansing and Mr. George Mikulski and Dr. Janice Smith for their expertly presented their thoughts on the themes transhumanism in the Caribbean, potentials and possibilities. You have really given us a lot to think about, and we thank you sincerely. Thank you to Mr. Preston and his team at MITS for making it possible to have this event streamed live. We thank our administration team, Mrs. White, Mr. Salmon, Ms. Shimhue, Ms. Mundell, Mrs. Dunstan Staple, and Mr. Anthony Ezeni, who worked behind the scenes to ensure everything was in place for this event. To all our student volunteers, thank you so much for giving us your time. And finally, we owe a debt of gratitude to our accomplished social media influencer, Irina Bruce, and also Joshana Anderson. We thank you in her absence. We thank Joshana for her the charm which she emceed the program, and Irina for the way that you skillfully navigated and steered our panel discussion to new heights. I want to express our collective gratitude to everyone who contributed to the success of this event, be it through participation, organization, or support. Your presence had made this truly memorable, and we look forward to future collaborations and intellectual explorations. Thank you all. Now, please join us in room 03. We have refreshments. Okay.